Hey, and welcome back to another episode. Now, this week we're going to do something a little bit different. I don't typically like to lead out of a place of fear when I'm teaching you guys these things, but you know what? There are just some easy, common mistakes that I see a lot of coaches and solopreneurs make. So, we're going to talk about the top 5 that I see right now. Let's get started. Okay, number 1, it's probably goes without saying, but not having a website at all is one of the most common mistakes I see people make, especially when they're just getting started. Here's the thing, when you don't have your own website, you don't actually own anything. Let's break that down. You can start an Instagram, a Facebook, even a TikTok, all of those things for free, and you can get really good value out of them. But the problem with that is that you don't own those platforms. So Instagram can make changes. Facebook can really mess with your reach. And, TikTok just changed the algorithm and changed things for a lot of people. And so what happens is something that you relied on in your business, you don't have any control over with these social media channels. So while yes, you can get started with just an Instagram, you want to make sure that you have a place for people to go and learn more about you that you 100% own and control. Now, you don't necessarily need a full website to start. You can create a website more cost effectively by creating a single page website. That means that you have multiple sections on your website so people can scroll down the page and get to know you, your services, about you, what makes you unique, and even get a lead capture all in one single page. And this can be a really good starting point for solopreneurs and coaches. But you want to make sure that whatever website you're creating gives you the ability to blog and add articles, because those articles are going to be really important to, one, showcase your expertise, and two, provide good quality content for Google and your users too. So either way, you want to go buy a domain name from a domain service provider like GoDaddy or Namecheap, not from Wix or Squarespace. You always want to buy a domain outside of those if that's how you're building your website. That way you have full control over that domain a lot more easily. Your website is really just the only piece of your marketing that you have 100% control over. So it's really important to start with that. Okay, number 2, when it comes to having a website, what's another mistake I see a lot of coaches making? Not having the right pages on their website. Now, this actually applies if you do a single page website as well and not just a full website. So these pages would be the sections of your website. So a few things you want to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you have an about page, because you, as a solopreneur and coach, it's all about working with you. It's all about you as an individual, your unique skill set, your unique education and experiences that led you to build this business. That's what people are going to connect with and why they want to work with you, right? So you want to make sure that you have an about page to tell that story and to give somebody a place to connect with you. Next, you want to make sure that you have a services page. Now, this could bluntly list out exactly how you help people. You want to make sure that you avoid getting into the features of everything you offer and instead focus on the benefits of what you offer. So think about it in their language and the customer's language, and less so in yours. And then they'll be easier to connect with that and they'll understand how you help them. It's also how people search for things. So it's really important for your SEO to use your customer's language and not your technical jargon. Now, the next page that every single website needs to have, not just coaches and solopreneurs, is a contact page. And we talked about last week creating contact forms and contact pages that convert and bring in leads. So there's a lot of things that go into this, but the base of it, if you want to have a place for people to get in touch with you, you want to give people an easy way to connect with you. And that can be through your social media. It can be through, and should be through, a secure contact form on your website that emails you when that gets filled out. And also have a phone number and an address if you've got one, of course, where people can reach you. You can even add your business hours so they know roughly when you might be responding to things. But that contact page is really important because it helps people connect with you and take that conversation offline and move it to where they can learn more about you. Now, if you've spent any amount of time at all on small business social media, you have probably heard people talk about discovering your niche. And that's another mistake I see a lot of people make. They're not doing what they can to appeal to that niche. Now, it doesn't have to be super specific, but think about the people that you already like working with. For me, for instance, I like working directly with a business owner. I like working with somebody who loves their business, who is passionate about what they do, and who can talk to me directly about that passion. It just doesn't always translate through a marketing assistant and 5 different layers of corporate structure. And you want to keep in mind that you can always change up your niche. There's nothing that goes against that. But just make sure that however you're talking to people on your website through the copy, you're doing so in the language, again, that your niche is going to use. And you're making it super simple for them to connect with what you're saying and follow along and showcasing how you solve that particular niche's problem. Now you've got all this great copy. You've made it so that you appeal to the niche. What's another thing that I see people not doing very often? Not having calls to action. You have to give people what you want them to do to connect with you. It's kind of one of those things that's like, duh, but go back and read your own copy. Are you telling them what next? So I want to learn more, or maybe I want to work with you. What do I want to do next? You have to tell them, whether that's connecting through a secure contact form or making a purchase right then and there, or even picking up the phone and calling. However it works best for your sales process, you need to include that at the bottom of every single page of your website. It's kind of the, so now what? This is all great. You solve all my problems. What do I do? So think of it like that, and whatever works best for you, even if that's just scheduling a phone call where you can get to know them a little bit better and sell your services. Now, this one, I swear I talk about every single week, but it is so, so important for every single business owner, but it's not being accessible. And by that, I mean digitally accessible. So when you're not accessible digitally, it means that you're not ensuring that your website or even your content on your website is able to be used by a wide variety of users. And that can mean people who have different visual and hearing abilities to us. So when you think about your website and what you can do to make your content more inclusive, you can do things like using alt text, which is a description of the image that gets read out by a screen reader. So you want to make sure that alt text is on every single image of your website so that when somebody's searching your website with a screen reader, they can hear what's in the image, even if they can't see what's in the image. And Instagram makes it easy to add alt text now too. Then you want to make sure that your font color that's on top of your background color has a high enough contrast so that anybody who has color blindness or really just some visual impairments are still able to legibly read your content. It seems like a no-brainer, but it happens all of the time where designers get a little fancy and they forget that people need to actually be able to read this on a variety of devices. Now, WebAIM, and I'll drop that link below, actually has a really cool online contrast color checker. So you can go through and make sure that the colors you're using on your website are going to be legible. You can do something simple like providing captions on your video. kind of like you have here. Now, personally, I use rev.com and their automated transcription service. I upload my videos, it spits out timed captions that I can upload to YouTube, to Facebook, and a variety of other places so that those are available for people who are watching my content. But it also can give me a transcription that I might be able to use as a blog article, for instance. This one is trendy and you guys are not going to like it, but you can also avoid using those fancy fonts that you see on Instagram and Facebook. Now, I know this isn't your website, but making your content inclusive means that you need to work within the parameters that an app gives you. If Facebook and Instagram aren't giving you a way within their app to change the font that you're using, you shouldn't be changing the font that you're using. Most of those fonts are actually read like emojis. So anybody that's using any kind of screen assisted reader to surf Facebook or Instagram may not be read what you're writing. And if that's your main headline, think about the fact that they're going to be skipping over the main point of your post. The other part of that is because they're emojis, that may not be how it looks on somebody else's device. So, if for nothing else, be aware that when you're using those fancy fonts and your captions on Instagram and Facebook, that you are potentially showing a very different look to somebody on a different device than you. Now, where do you start with all of this? Personally, if it were me, I would first start with my niche and make sure I've defined that and I've done my customer language research, and I just would make sure that you know exactly who you're talking to and why. And then you can go through and make the other adjustments based on your niche. And of course, if you have any questions at all, drop them in the comments. I am here to help. That's it for today, but join us next week because we're going to start talking about designing home pages that convert. See you guys later.